September the 11th, 2024. Guys, it is 2:39 p.m. Central Time here in Central Mississippi. And what you're looking at is the National Weather Service. It's important. We're going to tie it in with the Hurricane Center and all of that. But it's one of the most important tools, especially when these storms start getting ashore, because you can really nail some accurate information coming from all of your local news radar and all of their predictions, all of that. But in the bright red, you're seeing hurricane warnings here. And the images, guys, is moving forward, at 10 to 12 miles an hour now. And I've got, in the last hour, recorded probably 3 or 4 minutes of the eye starting to open and the amazing speed under the cloud tops that are rotating counterclockwise. But at the surface, you can see it, and it's about 3 times as fast as the storms on the outside. But we're going to take a look at that. These are in the maroon here. You've got tropical storm warnings, and this goes all the way up through central Mississippi. Of course, this is flood warnings. Alabama, northwest Georgia, these are wind advisories all along here in Arkansas. Now, with that cool dip, just while we're here, you've got your first winter weather advisories, I think, in western Montana and central Idaho. I think we saw some maybe in Colorado earlier, but I can't remember if you've had them there or not. But with that cool dip, and there is moisture pulling in, thankfully, because you need it as much as you can get because of the wind smoke there. Southern California, I looked at the satellite images there, and some of the fires are getting rough, and it's really growing quite a bit. But again, go to weather.gov. Click on your area. I'm going to use ours as an example. Now, regardless of where you are at on that map, just clicking on that area, your information may be slightly different or presented differently, but you can get the basics that are very important, especially if you've got these winter weather warnings and advisories. But here in central Mississippi, we're in the orange area, and we're seeing elevated. That's number 2. Number 1 is limited through all of this area. Now, this may change as the storm moves forward, but this has a time set over here, and that's important to know too, because we're going to be seeing the wind from 7 p.m. tonight to 2 a.m. Thursday. That is the chance of 40 to 55 mile per hour winds, potential for widespread down trees and power lines, roads blocked, power outages may last several days. Now, in the yellow area, it's a limited threat, but it's 10 miles difference in the speed, and this is just going through tonight. Now, remember, everything's moving forward. It will be slowing down, still moving forward. But in the limited area, you're dealing with gusts 30 to 45 miles per hour, some down trees and power lines, some roads blocked, some power outages potentially for a day or two. This is great information. So if you're up in the Jackson area, the winds are going to come in heavily at 10 p.m. Wednesday tonight. Again, everything's moving north through 7 a.m. Thursday. If you're up in the Greenwood North area, 3 a.m. to 11 a.m. tonight, after midnight. We talked about the storm coming in at midnight in our area, and so that's kind of what we're seeing in this pattern right here. But it'll give you critical information. Not only that, and let me back up just a moment. Think about this potential for widespread down trees, power lines, roadblock, power outages may last several days, and there's tornado warnings going up, guys. The 3 counties I know about just before I started the video was the 3 on the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, because that's the outer bands of the northeast quadrant. All 3, I think, or 4, I think it's 3 down there, but the whole Mississippi Gulf Coast is under a tornado watch. And that would be yellow on the map we just looked at weather.gov. And if you continue scrolling down the page, it's going to give you a close-up of whatever area you're working with. Now, this is coming out of Jackson, Mississippi, but if you come down and click in the New Orleans or Baton Rouge area, it's going to give you a different radar setup. Same way over in Shreveport, I think, and Little Rock, places like that, over in Birmingham and down along the coast. Anyway, you saw the entire map, so click on the area you are at. Now, notice along the Mississippi Gulf Coast right here and going over into Louisiana, You got a storm surge warning. You got hurricane warnings in this area, tropical storm warnings throughout here. In this lighter area right there, you got special weather statements, tropical storm watches. These are wind warnings for you guys, again, Alabama, and you can see lighter shades of this throughout Louisiana. Anytime you get into this tan to brown, more than likely it's either a special advisory or a wind advisory, so you guys can see this. But again, if you're further out of this section, go there and click, check on it now, especially if you're in this area. Now continue scrolling down the page, and you're going to come to the really one of the most important sections of all. It's what you can see with your eyes. I don't really like the computer-generated future cast very much at all. I'd rather see what's happening on radar or what is happening on the satellite images. A picture is worth 1,000 words to me. I don't care what the other rhetoric is. More than likely, when I do my videos, I've not seen what the other people are doing. Not on YouTube, but I'm talking about the major weather stations. Because then they may, I don't want their opinion until I have a chance to look at it myself, because I'm older than most of the people you see on TV. Now notice this scalar motion here, guys. That's the center of a radar system there. I saw it last summer quite a bit. You can see it here coming out of Jackson too, just at a different level. It always seems to knock a good bit of moisture out of the air, not unless it's a really heavy storm, but the lighter stuff, I've just seen it show up many times, especially last summer in the heat. But again, you've got, if you look here, and if you're in Macomb and through Hattiesburg, you've had some pretty good showers of light. But then you look down to Baton Rouge and along I-10 coming over into Mississippi, there's another wave, and you're starting to see a little bit of red in there. So if you've been through a little bit, you think that's all you're going to get, it's good to click here and look at your county and the previous maps and all, and go in there and check it out. It'll give you exactly where you've got tornado warnings and information about that. And you can go to any of the maps, even the big one we started it with, and just click on the yellow box saying tornado watches, or red if it's tornado warnings. Move this just a little bit. Now this is, a lot of it will be coming out of Norman, Oklahoma. But this is for the following locations. The adjacent coastal waters included are Vermilion Bay. Coastal waters from lower Chaffalaya River to Intercoastal City, Louisiana, out 20 nautical miles. Lake Pontchartrain and Lake Moore Pass, that's the one across the bridge northwest of Lake Pontchartrain. The Mississippi Sound, which is Gulfport and Biloxi, that entire area, Bay St. Louis. And then Lake Bourne, Louisiana, again, that's coming out of the east end, kind of into the open, out of Lake Pontchartrain. The Chandelier Sound, that's that islands after you leave Cat Island, Mississippi. I'm telling you this because I've sailed those. Beautiful places. Breton Sound, coastal waters from Port Fourchon, L.A. to lower Chaffalaya River, L.A. out 20 nautical miles. Coastal waters from the southwest pass to the Mississippi River to Port Fourchon, Louisiana, out 20 nautical miles. Think about that. These are tornado watches. Its storm is intensifying. Coastal waters from Pascagoula, Mississippi to Stake Island, out 20 nautical miles. Sorry about that. Now, Pascagoula, you're getting closer to Alabama as you go there. You got Ingalls Shipyard. You guys down there know where that's at. Coastal waters from Port Fourchon, Louisiana to the lower Chaffalaya River from 20 to 60 nautical miles. Coastal waters from southwest pass of the Mississippi River to Port Fourchon, Louisiana from 20 to 60. Now, I kind of feel like I'm preaching to the choir right now, because you've got some of the best boat owners and some of the people. Again, in 64 and 65, we lived there and went through Hurricane Betsy way down south of Louisiana, I think about 80 miles down the Mississippi River. And it hit us worse than it did New Orleans, but we evacuated out to some of our places in Mississippi and came back. House was still there. There'd been a lot of flooding. The levee had broke. The shed was flipped over, but the house was in good shape. It's got the coastal waters from the southwest pass of the Mississippi River to Port Fourchon from 20 to 60. Coastal rivers from Stake Island to southwest pass of the Mississippi River from 20 to 60 nautical miles. Coastal waters from Pascagoula to Stake Island, Louisiana, out 20 to 60. In the Mississippi Sound, again, You've got the coastal waters from Pensacola, Florida to Pascagoula, out 20 nautical miles. Okay, Pensacola, shout out. Waters from Pensacola, Florida to Pascagoula from 20 to 60 nautical miles. Attention. Let's see what else we got here. Louisiana parishes. And there's quite a wide list. And what is happening, you can't see it on that map because it's overlaid with the hurricane watches and warnings. So this is underlaying that. You can't see it. It's a lighter color. But if you click on that first map, weather.gov, you can do it on your phone if you lose power. Ascension, Iberville, Livingston, St. Bernard, St. John the Baptist, St. Tammany, Washington, Assumption, Jefferson, Orleans Parish, St. Charles, St. Martin, Tangipahoa, Iberia, Lafourche, Plaquemine, St. James, St. Mary, and Terrebonne. Just keep scrolling down. Again, all of this is coming out of Norman, Oklahoma, and most of it is until 11 p.m. tonight. And here is the Mississippi Gulf Coast till 11 p.m. Pearl River, Harrison, and Jackson. But I want you, all of you guys, and this would probably extend much further over into Alabama as the storm pulls a little further inland, and you start getting that outer band that always pulls out of the Gulf, and that's the last tail whip of the entire hurricane, but it's lined with tornadoes almost every time. Now let's take a look at some of the images coming in from the satellite of the Gulf before we start to see sunset coming out of the right or from the east. But it's amazing because we're still seeing as that cold front had pushed south and all of that smoke. You can see it if you look closely, some of that forest fire smoke, but all of it was bending and going out over the east coast through Tennessee and through North Carolina. And that's what this is doing. You got winds coming up, catching that front and turning everything to the right. Now the newest U.S. Navy model called NavGem is now showing it moving not right across the Jackson, Mississippi area, but further to the right between Jackson and Meridian. That would include Scott and Forest County. We're talking about Morton and Forest. That's not far from us at all. But you guys, again, and whatever's to the right side of the storm is going to catch the worst of it, even though it's going to be just a tropical storm. Remember that time we were looking at as it gets up into that area where the trees are down, power's out, could be out for several days. So I don't care where you're at or you think you're prepared, you make sure that your list is complete. It may be too late if you're further south. I'm just looking up, again, in central Mississippi right now. I could still, if I needed anything, go a few miles and to a closest store and grab a few things. But again, in the video, we talked about that yesterday the gas stations in Picayune were running low, and in Baton Rouge there was no much of anything supplies in the Walmarts, Costco, and all of that. But let's take a look at this. These are amazing images to me. I'm going to zoom up, but right now you can see a pretty good rotation in the outer bands, but focus a minute on that lawnmower blade you can see where it's clearing for an eye. Now, they've downgraded again from 85 to 80 knots sustained winds. That puts it as a very strong Cat 1, still with Cat 3 gust. But I don't see the weakening. And I would bet with the upcoming 4 or 5 p.m., then it'll come in again at 8, but they do it more rapidly during the hurricane season, that we may see that go back up. I'm not saying it will, but I see it strengthening. And when we zoom in on this, you'll see why also. Before I zoom in, let's look at the infrared and see where our moisture is. Notice the Atlantic is still warm. See that slight rotation there? I'm not sure if anything will happen. It's very dry. But some of the storms in the Atlantic, which I'm not going to go there right now, we're too close to a very dangerous situation here. We will focus on that after we get through with this. Before we zoom in, let's take a look at where our storms and moisture are. Again, here in central Mississippi, it's not bad right now. It's a steady drizzle. The wind is still kind of scary calm, this calm before the storm, because, again, we're going to get into a 55 to 65 mile winds here in, less than 4 hours. So, and it's going to come in much quicker. So that's why I'm saying go to the first map again, click on your area, look at when the winds are coming into your area. You may want to stay awake a little bit longer or you may want to make sure if you're into that kind of winds, even 50 knots or 50 miles per hour, excuse me, anything can blow around in your yard, anything. But here again in this side of the storm, it looks like we're seeing it start to recycle. That may be why they took some of the speeds down from 85 to 80 knots. But what will happen, this thing could be recycling. Watch it right here in the last frame as it's coming over the Louisiana coast. Now it will recycle. And also notice this, how well the eye is formed in the last frame right there. Check it out. Now they've been showing an eye on radar on a lot of channels all day, but what they're doing is not a visual picture of the storm itself. It's kind of the stronger storms in the outer bands. But this is what you get, what you see on this satellite image. Now let's zoom down on this, again, what I was calling a lawnmower blade. And with this closer look, you can see the outer bands again. We were zoomed out much further, but look at what's happening going right here. And I'm going to zoom in the last scale that you can get on these satellites. But look at the movement under there. It's like being able, again, to see a lawnmower blade through the body of the mower right there. Check that out. Now let's get closer, but look at the outer bands. Look where these high storms are right here, coming into Louisiana, right there. That's going to be the first of your really bad weather. Now, this is what the group that runs the satellite calls the day cloud phase. And what it is, in the light blues, in the greens, you're seeing surface clouds in movement. As you get into the orange, you're getting on the edge of the clouds, and when you get into this yellow and get real bright yellow, especially like the storm coming into Louisiana right there, that's your high cloud tops, and that's where your storm is going to be. Now let's get as close as we can get with these satellite images. You can see the coast of Louisiana. Here's where the Mississippi River comes out, and it's coming in right through this area. But notice in the last few frames, it's starting to turn to the right just a hair, and that's what the Navy model, by the way, is picking up when I was saying it may go to the right or east of Jackson, Mississippi. But you can see here very clearly two things. The storm's building up in Louisiana, and this is not going to be the end of it. That's just the beginning of some of the inside outer bands. These are the strong ones. But look at the eye, and look at the difference in the speed of the outside rotation. And I have this sped up just so you can see the difference. But look at that. You can see that speed, but in that clear opening, it looks like mayhem has been released, and then you see this sudden explosion this afternoon right there, Louisiana. And so, again, watch for the tornado watches and warnings. Look for down power lines, and we will look, before we're through with this, at what's called, you guys may want to write this down, it's called poweroutage.us, poweroutage.us, and it will allow you to look at the nation, click on that state, and then you can see the counties of where they're reporting outages from a storm or cold weather, tornado, whatever it is, and it will tell you how many in that area. It's pretty neat in case you've got friends, family in some of these counties, and you can't get in touch with them. You can maybe look there and find out why. And they're talking about, guys, if 120 miles inland tonight, we're going to be dealing with 65-mile-per-hour winds. They're talking about we could be days without power. Imagine what's coming into Louisiana right now. The first part of it, again, it's starting to turn slightly to the right or to the east. But New Orleans, you better pay close attention to it. The Navy model on their spaghetti model has it turning almost a little further to the east and crossing the river down in this area. We'll just have to wait and see on that. But this is what our eyes can see, and this is what I trust. That's an amazing image. Look at the velocity there. Wow. And while we're here zoomed in, let's switch to the day cloud phase. Remember, it gives you the blue and greens and the clouds closest to the ground. Comes up into the orange and then into the high yellows. That's why you're seeing the storm coming in to Louisiana here. That's the highest storm so far, or the highest height of the cloud tops. And the orange is showing us closer down. Remember, that's the bottom edge of the clouds. And look at the speed of that rotation compared to this. Man, there's a lot coming into you guys in Louisiana, and then it's going to travel. Depending on which model is correct, will it turn right with the Navy model, or will it stay kind of more northeast? We'll just have to wait and see on the updates coming in. But this is the very latest. Notice that will update again in 3 minutes and 29 seconds. It does it every 5 minutes. So this is very, very current. This is also a link you should save. Write it down. It tells you, let's see where it's got it on here, poweroutage.us, not gov or not .com. And you can go over any state. Now, California, you got forest fires down here, and I don't know if Gavin Newsom has not paid the light bills. I'm not sure what's going on there, but you got almost 16,000 out. Guys, and if you click on the state, then it'll break it down into the county level. And it only goes yellow when you're at 10,000 or above. Now, I just clicked on Louisiana. On that big map, guys, it was all blue, right? So this isolates it where the storms are coming in, whether it's tornado, ice, whatever it is. And you can see now, let's see, you're out here, you've got 16,000 out. This is Iberia Parish. That's where you saw the high clouds. Here you've got 1,960 out in St. Mary Parish. Here, Assumption Parish, you got 1,325. Iberia, you have 1,679. And you can see it gets lighter as you move up. Already in Iberville, you have 155 out. And you're just on the edge of that large storm we're seeing growing. And it goes up through Ascension, 740. Here in Livingston Parish, 447. Here in, this is Tangabahoa at 233. Here, right there. And what's happening, you've got 360 out in St. Bernard, and you've got those tornado warnings because that storm is not going to be encountering land on this outer edge as it's coming in, right? It's hitting Louisiana, but again, the Navy model has got it crossing the Mississippi River in this area, and you're open. That's Chandelier, and then you've got just the Cat Islands, Ship Island, all the way through Petty Boy, those islands. And so there's not much to break it up in that part. And that may be why you're starting to see some outages and some problems there. So let's switch over there for just a moment. And if you go and look in the right corner, we're going back to the main map. California's the highest. Washington's next, 8,000. Louisiana, you're third at 7,417 altogether. This is going to increase by the minute as the input data comes into the computers from power outage. As it accesses the same information, you probably get a text from your power company saying that where you text in that power's out, and then they text you back and they'll tell you that normally the crews are working, or they're going to have to wait till the winds die down or whatever. You can get some information there. And that's why it's important to have your phones charged up. Don't use them both at the same time, because if your power goes out, you're more than likely won't have internet. But your phones can reach out to the towers. And you can come here and watch these videos. Go to bpearthwatch.com. Most of all the links we use are there. Or go anywhere in YouTube or anywhere on Google or whatever server you use and look for information that you need. But let's go to Mississippi. Again, it's all blue, but they're saying we're out 573 people. Let's just click there and see what's happening. And what we're seeing is this is Louisiana. This is Louisiana here. And the effects are mostly here. 96, Jefferson County. There's some here in Wilkerson, 32. You're on the very outer edges. Now up here, I'm not sure what's going on in Oklahoma County, 125. You got 412 in Lafayette County, 179 in Union. This may be some storms brewing up from some of the outer bands, or just something that's happened. But anyway, this is all going to increase throughout the night. If you're in Mississippi or Louisiana, and as it moves through Alabama on this side, click on your states, because you may see the impacts there. And this is going to be the quickest way, by using the satellites and the information that the National Weather Service gives you at weather.gov and these type tools. Now I'm going to switch links, and we're going to look at some of the updates from the National Hurricane Center and Fox. The links that I'm using, we put together here a long time ago, and it started out as basically a place or like a library for what we use to do our videos. Tina does a great job on it. On the left side, you have videos and things like that, But on the left side, it's called World Links. And as you scroll over that, you'll see everything from volcanoes, earthquakes, things like that. Now we're dealing with, we watched the National Weather Service. We're about to look at the National Hurricane Center hurricanes. We're about to look at the Fox Hurricane info, and what also the beautiful satellite images. And I encourage everyone to use these. Comes from COD radar right there. There's many more. The Solar Dynamics Observatory, some of the space shots you see, some of the sun explosions, things like that. It's really stacked up well. And on the right side, there's some links. The free Bible software from eSword that gives you all the Bible translations in Greek and Hebrew, with a lot of study and search tools, satellite trackers, eyes on the sky, the International Space Tracker, it shows you where it's at in the sky, and the J Helio viewer here. Important links, and most of the time, 99% of my videos come from these links. If you like them, they're here for you guys. But let's go right now to the National Hurricane Center again here, and we'll look at Fox hurricane information. But National Hurricane Center first. Now, quite a bit of changes since the last time we looked at this. The two storms in the center are really dying off, and they were like at 60 and 50% chance just on some of the later updates. The air's cooler, it's drier, and they can't form yet. But the one that has formed, 7, not sure if it's going to make it. It's at 35 miles per hour, moving northwest at 18 miles an hour. But look how far north it is. It came out over the Cabo Verde Islands. We were talking about that in the video before. Normally you're 150 or 200 miles south of there, coming off of this section of Africa. And I looked at some of the videos 3 months ago when we were starting to see some of the tropical storms enter the Gulf, flooding in Houston again, and the storms are not coming off there. And so it must be moving very quickly, because the convergence zone is moving very quickly. Now let's look at the numbers on Francine. You just go there, click on, you've got a public advisory, but if you want your forecast advisory, if you feel like getting a headache, click there, and it's going to give you some very good information. Current location, they're setting it up here at 28 north, 92.7 west. What I look at, that's important because I use that to plot the lines when you see my hurricane charts. But I use the information from the National Hurricane Center because they average the different spaghetti models from left to right and kind of put it in an average. Now, they are usually very close when we get this close to the land. You can see that. Again, remember the Navy model is drifting to the right somewhat. Currently, we're seeing it at 80 knots, 100 knot gust. That's a strong Cat 2 again, with gust over a Cat 3. Now it goes from there to what's called near coast, not inland yet, near coast, and it's talking about 80 knot to 100 knot. It's sustaining that. Again, strong Cat 1, Cat 3 gust, and at this location, earlier today, this had been changed back to 85 and to a 105, and that puts it at a Cat 2, still hanging in there with a much stronger Cat 3 gust going from like 129 111 up to 129. Then inland, you're seeing, and that's pretty far inland here, slowing down, maximum winds at 40 knots and gust at 50. But right here, this may change, this near coast post. It depends on how quickly it happens and how quickly the land starts slowing down that development in the center. But this could change. But because you're at a strong Cat 1, Louisiana and South Mississippi, with Cat 3 gust, just say you got a Cat 2 coming in on you. Now, your insurance company may not agree with that, but whatever it is, prepare for a Cat 2 in your area. If it's updated later, we still have a 6 and an 8 o'clock Central Time PM updates coming up. And it would be interesting to see if this near coast projection changes even back to 85 knots or 100 knots, because then you are in a Cat 2 with a much stronger Cat 3 gust. But guys, let's take a look at the Navy spaghetti model. Now, this update, this is from Fox Hurricane Center, one of the links near the hurricane section on the left side of the website. It's called Fox Hurricane Info, I think it is. This was updated PM 4:30, so that's been 21 minutes ago. Notice the purple line, and the Navy gets very accurate in the last day or so. And notice this is stretching again very close to Scott County. Jackson's sitting right here, Meridian's over here. And this purple line is, again, Forest, Morton, somewhere in there. You know where I'm talking about. But that one's stretching over here. Now, the Canadian model is still bending back between Jackson and Vicksburg. But with we seeing all that weather being pushed off the East Coast, I tend to favor the models that are bending this way. And the Navy, again, who has the most interest in the Gulf or any ocean on the planet is the U.S. Navy, or any Navy of any nation. They have a lot vested in what they have in these areas. So does the oil companies. Anyway, let's just watch and see. Right now, it's very close. A lot of the models are showing it coming straight in right now. It's only, except for the HWRF, and that it shows it here and moving up. But I would watch this. If it makes a sudden right turn because of this front up here, may not, but it will come not across mainland of Louisiana, but right across the Mississippi River, where it starts to come out there on the peninsula of the Mississippi River itself, Buras, all the way down to Empire, all through that area, Port Suffolk. And also it would allow it to be over water for a longer period of time, because you can't see it in here, but you got the chandeliers out here, and it's water between there, and you go up into, I think the first island we used to camp on was Cat Island here, and then you got Ship, got Deer Island very close to Biloxi. But this would give it more time over water instead of land. That's what I'm talking about. What would that do again? Northeast quadrant, Mobile Bay, Mississippi, and any of the inlets from there going into Pensacola, Gulf Shores, Perdido. But you guys know the routine. You need your boats tied up good, or if you got the trailers and your boats are small enough to haul them out of there, because we lost our sailboat in Hurricane Michael in Southwind Marina when it came ashore. There, that's between Perdido at the bridge and the Pensacola Naval Air Station, where the Blue Angels fly of and practice. It's beautiful to have your boat out there and can stay a few days on the boat, or you're close enough to you can motor out, because they come right over that outer island into the cove there in their practice maneuvers. Really give you quite a show, sometimes twice a week. You see them a couple of times a year on the national TV, but those guys are amazing. Anyway, you need to pay attention to what's happening now, and we're going to watch for the updates coming in. We're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.